Okay, so for circumference of a circle, if you haven't gotten there yet, go ahead and grab your book, flip over to page 560, take a look at problem number 1. All right, so in the directions, it says find the circumference of each circle round to the nearest tenth. So you don't have to actually write this down. All right, just go ahead and watch really quickly. So what it shows is it shows a circle, and in that circle there's a center, and coming from one side to the other through the center, right, it's a diameter, and it says that the diameter is 12 inches. All right, so here's what we're going to do. Step 1, when you find the circumference, we're going to start by writing our formula. So circumference is equal to taking the diameter and multiplying it with pi. So if you remember right, this diameter here is being 12 inches. I know that it can go around, or I should say it takes 3 of them to go around. So I know that 12 times 3 is 36. With the little extra left over, it's going to be a little bit over 36 inches. So just kind of giving an estimate in my head really quickly before I start on this. After I write the formula down, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to plug in the numbers. So finding out the circumference. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and put a star here, because when I plug in the diameter, I need to make sure I'm actually plugging in the diameter. In this case, it is the diameter. It's 12 inches. After that, I plug in my pi. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and use the estimated 3.14. All right, so step 3 is I'm going to go ahead and simplify. So if I take a look at that, it's 12 times 3.14, 3 and 4 1400ths, and I get 37.68, or 37 and 68 hundredths. And remember, it says round to the nearest tenth. So on tonight's homework, the tenth is right there. So the 8 is going to make the 6 go up. So I guess you would just say we're doing step 4, 37.7. Now, of course, if you call this step 5, don't forget, of course, put your units on there. It's in inches. So 37 and 7/10 inches long. Okay. So what I'm going to do then is let's now go ahead and take a look at page 560. Let's together do problem number 5. Okay, so number 5, here's all it gives us. Same directions, but it does say that the radius is equal to 3 and 6/10 kilometers. So again, if I go through the steps, I'm going to go ahead, do step 1, and write my formula. Circumference, remember, is taking the diameter, multiplying it with 3 1/7, or pi. Step 2, again, put a star by it, because remember, when we plug it in, I need to make sure I'm plugging in the right numbers. Here's the problem. This is asking for the diameter. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the radius. So remember, the radius is from the edge to the center, or you say from the center to the edge of the circle, okay, to a point on the circle. That is 3.6. However, remember, diameter is twice as big. So probably most of you can do that in your head. If I have a calculator next to me, 3 and 6/10 times 2 equals 7 and 2/10. So 7 and 2/10 is the diameter. That's what I'm plugging into my formula. Pi is 3 and 1400ths. So step 3, circumference. I'm going to go ahead, simplify that right side, 7 and 2/10 times 3 and 1400ths, and I get 22 and 608 thousandths. Okay, a little too large, right? So we do step 4, and that is make sure we round, in this case, to the nearest tenth. So the 0 makes the 6 stay the same. So we end up with 22 and 6/10. And like it was over here, let's put our units on. It's in kilometers. So 22 and 6/10 kilometers. Okay. Because of time, we're going to go ahead and take a look here at page 560, problem number 6. Problem number 6. All right, so number 6. Go ahead and take a look. It is a word problem. Okay, it says an ancient timber circle discovered in the United Kingdom was thought to have been built more than 4,000 years ago. Known as C-hinge, this ancient circle has a circumference of about 21 3/10 meters. What's the radius of the circle to the nearest tenth? Now, here's what I'm going to do. On a word problem, it's always good. We'll go ahead and say step 1, draw a diagram. Okay, now considering that we're talking about circumference of a circle today, right? More than likely it has something to do with a circle. So if I reread it, okay, it says this ancient circle has a circumference of about 21 3/10 meters. Here's the thing. They give us the circumference, which is a little different from what we've done before. Now here's a nice part about this. Okay, we need to find out. It says, what is the radius of the circle? So we need to find out what the radius is. I tell you what, the nice part about this is we're going to use our formula again. Circumference equals diameter times pi. You have to remember what all these letters stand for. Plug the numbers into the right spot. So here's what I'm talking about. It says the circumference is 21.3. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in, and I'll put a star here, because I need to plug that in into the circumference, which is this side of the equal sign, this side of the equation, 21 3/10. Now here's the thing. We have the diameter, which we don't know what it is, but we do know what pi is. It's 3 1400ths. And now what we have is step 4 isn't to simplify, it's actually to solve for the variable. So here's your variable. It's being multiplied with 3 1400ths. I'm going to do the inverse. I'm going to divide by 3 1400ths. Here and here. So when I do that, these cancel. I end up with the diameter equals, and I punch this into the calculator, 21 3/10 divided by 3 1400ths equals, so here's what I get, 6.7834339. So here's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this and I am going to round to the nearest tenth, just like it told us. So if I'm going to go ahead and write some of this down here. So what that leads me to do is, moving this over, step 5, I'm going to round to the nearest tenth. So the 8 makes the 7 go up, so we end up with 6 8/10 in diameter. Now, before I put units on, they are asking, if you take a look here, not for the diameter, they're asking for the radius. So in this particular problem, if the diameter is 6 8/10, I can go ahead and to get the radius, I take 6 8/10 and divide by 2, because the radius is half of the diameter. So divided by 2 equals, so our radius, everyone, is 3 4/10. And of course, don't forget your units. 3 4/10, what was it? M for meters. 3 4/10 meters long. All right. So a couple of different basic problems you'll be seeing in tonight's homework. By the way, just don't forget that if they use a fraction, all right, if they give you the fraction of, let's say, the diameter, and I don't know, let's say that it is 7 halves in diameter, something like that, all right, more than likely what you're going to want to use for pi, it's okay to use 22/7, and especially because a lot of these you'll be able to cross reduce. 7 and 7 actually cross cancel, right? 22 and 2, divide both of them by 2, I get 11 and a 1. that'd be giving me 11 over 1, which in that case the circumference is 11. And that, of course, that's just a fake problem, but just keep that in mind that that is something you can also use to plug in besides 3.14. All right, and that is circumference of the circle.